Coming up in today's edition of Jamaica Magazine, we look at the 2016 achievements of the government. Then, NSWMA is working with the Japanese government to get more Jamaicans to recycle. We'll tell you how. And later, what you can do to limit the effects of climate change. Hi, I'm Audrey Williams. We'll have all that and more after this message.
Violence against women and girls is a human problem. Not just a woman's problem. It's a problem for men too. Gender violence takes many forms, including sexual assault, domestic violence, relationship abuse, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of children. The magnitude of ongoing violence against women and children in our country is cause for alarm. We can end the violence. It requires all of us to end the violence. I call on all our men and women in Jamaica to take a stand. And men, especially, must get involved in this movement to create a better world for their daughters, their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, their fathers, their sons, and for themselves. Let's protect and reassure. Let's unite to end gender violence.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, January 18. The Office of Utilities Regulation says the electricity grid codes are now ready for the country. The generation, transmission, distribution, supply, and dispatch codes were finalized in August 2016. The 5 grid codes regulate the generation, transmission, distribution, supply, and dispatch of electricity across the nation. They also prohibit discrimination among users of the electricity grid. A breach of the codes by a licensee constitutes a breach of that person or entity's electricity license. Any breach of the codes by a licensee or a self-generator who is not a licensee is also an offense under the Electricity Act. The codes have been finalized in a document developed by the OUR in conjunction with the Caribbean Clean Energy Program. A copy of the Jamaica Electricity Sector Book of Codes can be found on the OUR's website at our.org.jm. Chairman of Jamaica Trade and Investment, Senator Don Webby, says achieving the country's target of $2.5 billion in export growth is a central part of JAMPRO's strategic goals over the next 3 years.
And will be achieved by increasing export-led investments, expanding exports reach globally, and advocating for reductions in the barriers to trade.
He asserts that while the country is halfway to reaching the export growth target, it needs powerful performances from the manufacturing and agriculture sectors to realize the remaining $1.2 billion by 2020.
The JAMPRO team is working on creating targeted promotional programs that will drive investment in these areas from both local and overseas investors, while defining the critical strategies that will get Jamaican products to the markets across the globe.
Senator Webby was speaking at the press launch of the inaugural Jamaica International Exhibition, which will be held from June 1 to 4 in Montego Bay. Police officers in the corporate area will soon be able to ride free of charge on Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC buses. The law enforcement personnel will benefit from the service for approximately 1 year. It's the result of a partnership between the Ministries of National Security and Transport.
I have sat down with Minister Mike Henry, and we have worked out a little plan. And it is only going to affect those in Kingston and Spanish Town for the first phase.
The National Security Minister made the announcement on Tuesday during an interactive session with heads of the Jamaica Constabulary Force at the Jamaica Conference Center. He says stations will be established where JCF members will be able to collect their passes to access the service.
But I'm going to ask the officers, don't abuse the system. Not give the pass to your cousin and to your friend. Don't mash up a good thing.
Minister Montego says negotiations are ongoing for a similar system to be implemented for correctional officers and members of the Jamaica Defense Force. A more suitable temporary location has been identified for wards of the state from the Clifton Boys Home in Darlaston, Westmoreland. Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Floyd Green, says once the necessary contractual arrangements can be ironed out, the wards will be relocated there. The 28 boys aged 6 to 18 years were displaced after their home was destroyed by fire on January 15. They are now being temporarily housed at the St. John's Anglican Church, which owns and operates the boys' home. Minister Green says every effort will be made to keep the boys together under the care and guidance of their house mother, Irene MacDonald, with whom they share a special relationship.
Because we do see that there's a special bond there, and that helps them in the healing process, that helps them to get over the incident quicker and get back to regular state of affairs. And seeing that they will be displaced for some time, you know, we want to ensure that they have that bond.
Meanwhile, the state minister says the outpouring of support for the home and the boys from both local and overseas partners has been tremendous.
And a lot of calls have been coming in from here and abroad, and we want to encourage people to keep giving. You know, a lot of the boys would have lost also personal items. You know, some of them had their little tablets and their computers that they used in school. So we want to thank Jamaica for the outpouring, but you know, we continue to need more.
Monetary donations can be made to NCB deposit account number 061-018-964. Donation of clothes, food and back-to-school items can also be made at any CDA office island-wide or by contacting the agency at 948-2841-2 or 967-1614 or email info@cda.gov.jm. And finally, the Fisheries Division of the Agriculture Ministry began conducting business out of its new offices on Monday, January 16. The new home, which is located in the former Jamaica Livestock Association building at Newport East in Kingston, now houses staff from the division's Marcus Garvey Drive offices. The move follows the closure of the Marcus Garvey Drive offices in September 2016 due to flooding which caused significant damage to the office space, records, and equipment. Staff were splintered in various locations and operations were temporarily relocated in order to continue licensing and registration functions. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Finger-licking jerk chicken, Helsha fish and bami, we run down yam and banana, roast bread fruit, sweet potato pudding. Jamaica food sweet. So let's make a pledge to use more local produce and less foreign goods. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow.
The year 2016, a period in which justice was taken to the communities, and reducing the backlog in the courts became a mantra. Justice for one, justice for all. Throughout the year, the ministry led by Portfolio Minister Delroy Chuck accelerated the implementation of the Jamaican Justice System Reform Project. The 3-year, $7 billion project got a major boost late 2016 when the European Union provided a $3.3 billion grant.
There are specific objectives, including improving service delivery in the justice sector, increasing access to gender-responsive, accountable, and effective justice services, especially for the vulnerable in our society.
Jamaicans should begin to see significant results in terms of turnaround times, access to justice for marginalized groups such as the poor and the mentally ill, far fewer children facing formal prosecution in the criminal justice system, and more cases being tried in the expanded courts of petty session.
During the year, the ministry piloted several pieces of legislation to speed up and improve the delivery of justice. In May, the Jury Act was passed to reduce the number of jurors required to try non-capital murders from 12 to 7. The Road Traffic Act and the Interpretation Act also got Parliament's approval. Same for the Restorative Justice Act.
We're in the criminal courts. If we can get the offender to admit that he has committed the offense and the victim to forgive, then we can say use restorative justice and to exercise mercy in the disposal of the matter.
After a $100 million expenditure, the Ministry of Justice was relocated to its new home at 61 Constant Spring Road by the summer of 2016.
The day after I was sworn in as Justice Minister, as the PS indicated, I went down to the ministry, hoping I will probably spend a few months there because I heard that we were going to be moving from the then ministry, only to be told the next morning I can't enter. The Public Health Authority has locked down the Ministry of Justice.
Other infrastructural upgrades in 2016 included general remedial works to Public Building west of the Court of Appeal. Repair work was also done to the Ramble Parish Court, the Family Court, the Halfway Tree Parish Court, and the Halfway Tree Criminal Court. The Supreme Court benefited from equipment upgrade. 2016 also witnessed significant investments to develop the technological infrastructure in the justice sector. Video link technology was installed at the Halfway Tree and Supreme Courts to facilitate witnesses who cannot be physically present in the courtroom. Digital audio recorders were installed in some courtrooms.
Our citizens would also like to know that a modern automated jury management system will be piloted before the end of 2016. This system will manage electronically the selection of and payment of jurors.
And 85 computers were bought for parish courts, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Office of Attorney General, and the Office of Parliamentary Counsel. More than 200 justices of the peace JPs received mandatory training during the year to improve their capacity to do the job.
This is the beginning of what we hope will be a long series of training. I'm hoping that many of you will become trainers. And, you know, JPs are always asking, can we get some assistance, a stipend? And this is one area. If you become trainers, we hope that the trainers can be paid.
Meanwhile, more citizens are now helping to maintain law after 2,000 community leaders were sensitized on justice services. They were trained in areas such as restorative justice practices, mediation, drug court and drug abuse, human trafficking, child diversion, and legal aid. 15 judges received instruments of office in 2016. Her Honor Judith A. Pusey was appointed Chief Judge of the Parish Courts. Frank Williams and Carol Edwards were named judges of the Appeal Court in March, while Justices Paulette A. Williams and Carol C. Edwards were appointed Judges of Appeal in September. Rosemary Harris and Pamela Margot Mason were named Masters in Chambers. So too Carolyn Tai and Stephanie Jackson Hazley, who were later promoted to puisne judges. Sonia Bertram Linton, Dale Palmer, and Sonia M. Wint Blair were also appointed puisne judges. And Lorna Shelley Williams, Chester Stamp, and Vinette Graham Allen were appointed puisne judges of the Supreme Court. Calendar year 2016. Courthouses were rehabilitated, stakeholders trained, legislation updated, and new technologies employed. A year in which the ministry advanced access to justice for all.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash, no paper, no dash, no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
the island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty of Jamaica.
Plastic bottles contain a harmful chemical that is hazardous to human health, and unfortunately they make up a huge part of our solid waste. The National Solid Waste Management Authority is continuously working to reduce this. Here's how.
The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, has been partnering with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, since 2004. Over this 12-year period, 30 employees from the NSWMA have been to Japan, where they received training in areas that included composting, managing recycling facilities, landfill management techniques, sustainable solid waste for CARICOM countries, sustainable waste management for Caribbean islands, solid waste management A, which consists of basic introductory courses, and Solid Waste Management B, which consists of advanced courses. Beneficiaries on return submit a report and a proposal on the subject matter for funding by JICA under their follow-up cooperation facility. One such project is the Solid Waste Reduction through Waste Separation, Waste Diversion and Recycling Pilot Project.
The Solid Waste Reduction through Waste Separation, Waste Diversion and Recycling Pilot Project supports one of the main mandates of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, that is to implement programs that will effect behavioral change. So we welcome this initiative. For the next 6 months, the pilot project will be in 3 communities, namely Caribbean Estates and Caymanas Country Club Estates in St. Catherine and Rollington Town in Kingston. The project is estimated to be about $7 million, of which $6.7 million is being funded by the government of Japan through the Jamaica International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and as such we are very grateful for this. In the coming months, we will be meeting with residents, hosting community meetings, attending the Citizens Association meetings, and basically encouraging persons to separate their plastic containers, their cardboards and cans from their regular household waste. So we will be asking residents to take out these items, and a separate truck will come and do the collection, and we will give these items to a third-party companies. The learnings from this pilot project will assist the authority to develop policies and plans to guide and to help us to better manage solid waste, and to get residents to buy into the concept of separating their plastic containers, their cans, and also cardboards from their regular household waste. So at the end of the project, we will be in a much better position to determine behavior and attitude towards separation at source, how to really convince and to influence persons, residents, to separate these items from their regular household items.
On behalf of JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, I am pleased that NSWMA holds this pilot project of waste reduction through waste separation, waste diversion, and recycling. This project is planned by a senior planning officer of NSWMA who had participated in JICA training in Japan titled Sustainable Solid Waste Management for CARICOM countries. After he returned from Japan, he planned it based on what he'd learned in Japan. I am happy that JICA can assist this project and the JICA follow-up cooperation program, although the amount is not bigger than 6.5 million Jamaican dollars. JICA has been offering several training programs to NSWMA since 1980s. So far about 30 NSWMA staff had participated in these JICA training programs.
This is a good government initiative based on a sponsorship from the Japanese government. It has allowed us to be one of the pilot projects, and we, the citizens and the residents of Caymanas, are grateful for this project because it allows us to sort our garbage, especially with the PET bottles. These are a continuous growing source of concern for our garbage collection with regards to blocking our drains and causing havoc on sea life. NSWMA Solid Waste Management has given us the bags so that it will encourage residents to carry out their bottles and put them in a central area that will be collected once a week. We will be sensitizing the residents based on the fact that it will encourage us to reduce our solid waste disposal.
We are taking up the plastic bottles, which we call the PET bottles, for recycling. So what we do, we separate them from the regular garbage in order to have the community be in a better environment. We have collections at the primary school, the Rollington Town Primary School, at 17 Montego Street, at the fire station, and Arcot Road for now. But we are enlightening the rest of the community people about this project. It will help the community in a vibrant way because less garbage, less bottles being around, seeing that we have the Zika virus around, this will also help to decrease the mosquito-borne disease being harbored around.
I think it is a phenomenal first step in the right direction that Jamaica needs to go, engaging the community. Recycling Partners, as you know, fully endorses the program. And as we mentioned, we will continue once your test period is done. We are committed to continue cleaning up those neighborhoods and collecting the bottles. And we'll also use it as a test pilot for other communities that we are hoping to bring on board.
Waste separation is the way forward, and the NSWMA, through our partners, is working to make this a way of life for all.
Each time you're not paying full attention to the road environment, the greater your chances of getting in a crash like that. Plan routes to avoid focusing on GPS systems, prevent children from roaming in motor vehicles, turn down the volume of car stereo systems, pull off the roadway if you have to use mobile devices, do not read, watch television or eat while driving, avoid multitasking, and keep conversations with other passengers to a minimum. Whether you walk, ride or drive, avoid potentially fatal distractions.
Recycling is one of the ways we can limit climate change. For other ways of protecting our environment, take a look at our next feature.
Warning, warning, warning! The world over is changing, and a number of the changes are as a result of the way you and I have chosen to live. From driving a car to garbage disposal, using electricity to light and cool your homes. All these activities contribute to the evolving problem known as climate change.
Climate change is happening now.
For some strange reason, Jamaica doesn't have any rainfall at all.
What I know right now is that it's a very hot summer.
The drought is killing us. From the farmer to the housewife, climate change has no boundaries. It does not discriminate.
If I was to define climate change, I would say something like it's the long-term changes in measures of climate happening over very, very long periods of time and specifically due to human activities. So the first is, of course, things that we burn for electricity, so gas and coal and oil. And when we burn those fossil fuels, we put certain gases in the atmosphere which are known as greenhouse gases. And those greenhouse gases cause the eventual warming of the earth. And then the other one would be land use change. So, for example, when we cut down the trees and replace the trees by concrete, you know, trees are what we call a natural sink. They take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
At the onset, the situation might seem dismal, but if we act now, we can begin adapting to the impacts of climate change.
The school of thought is that there are really three key actions. The first is what they call mitigation. And by mitigation in the climate change context is, well, maybe we need to not put out as much greenhouse gases, which are causing the problem in the first place. The second key action then is figuring out how to adapt. And adapting means learning to live within the new context. that we are creating for ourselves, the new climate context. The third critical plank is always education. You know, we have to begin to educate people about climate change.
The country has been implementing a number of climate change resilient programs since 1995, when it became party to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, the main international treaty on climate change. The adaptation, mitigation, and education strategies have been reflected in the development of the Vision 2030 National Development Plan through Goal 4 under Outcome 14, hazard risk reduction and adaptation to climate change. The Climate Change Division has a leading role in coordinating these initiatives.
The Climate Change Division is set up to accomplish a number of objectives, and that includes improving the general awareness of the public as to what climate change is and what as a country we can all do in order to make ourselves better prepared for the likely and significant impacts.
The division has been making strides in creating awareness about climate change and each individual's role in protecting the environment.
As a country, we need to think, how can we reduce our greenhouse gas output? One obvious way is, for example, renewable energy. You know, so to pursue renewable energy as a viable energy option.
Our main activity is to ensure that we keep whatever forests we have in Jamaica intact. And in areas that we have lost the forest is to replace it.
We have seen where our shoreline is changing. We've been doing a lot of work with replanting of mangroves, and we encourage replanting of seagrass. We have done work with establishment of coral nurseries, artificial reefs.
We have experienced firsthand and will continue to see the changes that result from climate change. It is real, and all hands have to be on board to ensure success in our mitigation, adaptation, and education strategies. With climate change, we must change.
Today we want to remind our motorists, especially the operators of heavy vehicles, trucks, trailers, buses, about the safety features along the highway. The first thing I want to highlight is the signage along the highway. So whenever you approach a steep downgrade, there is going to be a sign advising you that there are steep slopes ahead. And the number on the sign reflects how steep the slope is. So a 5% slope is obviously less steep than an 8% slope. And the first thing we want to encourage our truckers and the operators of heavy vehicles to do when they see a sign like this is to check their brakes. Along the highway, we actually have special areas where you can stop and check your brakes. The second thing we want you to do is to get in low gear. So the sign will also remind you that you need to be in low gear as you approach these steep slopes.
We've come to the end of our show. You may watch this and other editions of the magazine on our YouTube channel. You can also download the JIS app at the Google Play Store. Keep up with us on social media. Visit our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. I'm Audrey. On behalf of the entire production team, take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.